Following decades of Israeli war crimes against the Palestinians in occupied Palestine, an international organization has finally come to the conclusion that these crimes need to be investigated. Who is this international organization? Why did it take this long to decide to potentially hold Tel Aviv accountable? What is the reaction of the Palestinians and Israelis? How could this possibly affect Israel? We are going to discuss all this and more issues related to the probe on this episode of Palestine Files. But listen to this. One of the main reasons to open an investigation was Israel's war on the besieged Gaza Strip in 2014. During that war, for 7 weeks, Israel rained bombs on Gaza, killing some 2,300 Palestinians, 80% of them civilians. This included 495 children and 253 women, to be precise. Nearly 11,000 were also wounded, of which more than 3,300 were kids, of whom Israeli forces left 1,000 disabled for life. And finally, according to the United Nations, 373,000 Palestinian children required psychological therapy. Now, if that's not terrorism, then what on earth is terrorism? And why on earth did it take 5 years for the international community to consider investigating possible Israeli war crimes? Stay with us.
The International Criminal Court has declared that it will open a full investigation into possible war crimes committed by Israel in occupied Palestine. A preliminary examination into war crimes had been opened in 2015. It was triggered by the 2014 Israeli war on the besieged Gaza Strip. The ICC's chief prosecutor says enough information is now available to meet the criteria for opening a probe.
Today I announce that following a thorough, independent and objective assessment of all reliable information available to my office, the preliminary examination into the situation in Palestine has concluded with the determination that all the statutory criteria under the Rome Statute for the opening of an investigation have been met.
The ICC has the authority to hear cases of war crimes, genocide and crimes against humanity.
In brief, I am satisfied, 1, that war crimes have been or are being committed in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip. 2, that potential cases arising from the situation would be admissible. And 3, that there are no substantial reasons to believe that an investigation would not serve the interest of justice.
Israel has not joined the International Tribunal. However, the Palestinian Authority, a limited self-rule body in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, has done so.
As there has been a referral from the State of Palestine, there is no requirement to seek pretrial chambers authorization before proceeding to open an investigation.
The Palestinians have welcomed ICC move, describing it as a long overdue step.
بعد 4 سنوات من العمل والمتابعة الحثيثة وتقديم كل ما يلزم حول جرائم الاحتلال المرتكبة في حق الشعب الفلسطيني في الأراضي الفلسطينية المحتلة فقد صدر قرار المحكمة اليوم.
The ICC has also looked into possible war crimes committed by Israeli forces during weekly marches in the besieged Gaza Strip during 2018.
ترحب حركة حماس بقرار المدعي العام لمحكمة الجنايات الدولية بفتح تحقيق في جرائم الحرب التي ارتكبها الاحتلال ضد شعبنا الفلسطيني. كل الشواهد والدلائل على الأرض تؤكد فعلا أن هناك جرائم حرب مكتملة الأركان ارتكبها الاحتلال ضد شعبنا الفلسطيني. أهمية هذا القرار تكمن في البدء الفعلي بإجراءات هذا القرار وبدء معاقبة الاحتلال على مجمل الجرائم التي ارتكبها بحق شعبنا الفلسطيني.
The move has been hailed by the Palestinian Authority in the occupied West Bank.
هذا اليوم هو يوم بالنسبة لنا يوم عظيم لأننا حققنا فيه ما نريد، أي أننا اعتبارا من اليوم ستبدأ ماكينة المحكمة الجنائية الدولية بتقبل القضايا التي سبق أن قدمناها.
Meanwhile, Israel has slammed the move by the ICC. The announcement opens the possibility of charges being filed against Israeli officials.
The ICC prosecutor's decision has turned the International Criminal Court into a political tool to delegitimize the state of Israel.
Netanyahu said the ICC had no jurisdiction to investigate Israeli actions. In a statement, the Israeli Prime Minister said the ICC only has jurisdiction over petitions submitted by sovereign states, but there has never been a Palestinian state. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo also stated that Washington does not believe Palestinians qualify as a sovereign state.
So, the ICC chief says she is satisfied war crimes have been committed by the Israeli regime. That's good to hear after 70-odd years, isn't it? Netanyahu playing the anti-Semitism card once again. That's nothing new, really. So, what is the International Criminal Court actually investigating? Israeli intentionally launching disproportionate attacks against Palestinians? That's one. Other war crimes being probed are the willful killing and causing of serious injuries, as well as intentionally attacking Red Cross personnel. Now, our team spent some time with Palestinians on the ground regarding the ICC decision. Let's hear what they had to say.
مسألة محكمة الجناية الدولية يعني فلسطين مش جديد انضمت لها، لكن تحرك الملف بما يخص القضية الفلسطينية في محكمة الجنايات الدولية من وقت قريب. حجم الجرائم المرتكبة من قبل الاحتلال الإسرائيلي في الأراضي الفلسطينية لم يشابهها جرائم إلا أيام النازية.
هذا خروج هذه المحكمة عن حالة الصمت والقيام بدورها المهني والإنساني والأخلاقي تجاه قضايا الإنسان، وبالأخص الإنسان الفلسطيني الذي يعاني جرائم الاحتلال.
يعني أكبر جرائم بالقدس تقريبا هدوا البيوت كلها بحجة إنه فيش ترخيص، فيش تأمين، فيش كذا فيش كذا، بس بالتالي كلها إشاعات وكلها بدهم يهربوا المسلمين والفلسطينيين من أراضي المقدس.
في عندك الحروب اللي على قطاع غزة، وفي عندك كمان عمليات الهدم في الضفة الغربية، الأسر، القتل بدم بارد للشبان في الشوارع. كل هذه الجرائم إسرائيل تستاهل أنها تتحاسب عليها في محكمة الجنايات الدولية.
Khalid Hijazi is a Palestinian activist and he joins us now for his take on all this. Mr. Hijazi, welcome. If I could first start with asking about your position on this ICC decision.
We applaud this decision by the ICC to begin investigating Israel for war crimes in Palestine. We look at it and we applaud it with some reservations, which I can mention later on. We do applaud it because it now, for the first time, the world is going to look to view Israel as a state different than what Israel always tries to portray itself as, the exceptional, with an exceptionalism clause, as the state with the army, the most moral army in the world. So this is a look or an investigation onto Israel from outside. So in a way, it forces the Israeli. I'm hoping that it will force the Israeli people to view themselves that they are in actuality in violation, or their government is violating international laws, and for them to begin questioning the morality of their state.
Interesting point you raised there. Now, what challenges will the ICC face? We know there is pressure on the International Tribunal from Israel and the United States.
Well, some of the challenges that the ICC will face First, the case itself will not be determined until the chamber in the ICC will rule or will allow the ICC validity in exercising its jurisdiction in the occupied Palestinian areas, which consist of the West Bank, the East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip. Some of the challenges that Israel might use, that it might say that, based on the Oslo Accords, there has been a framed work that has already been decided, and that between the Israel and the Palestinian Authority, and such ruling or intervening by the ICC might violate these negotiations, and that these negotiations should only be determined in the peace accord. So that's one. And the other thing, Israel claims that Palestinians have no sovereignty over the occupied territories. So these are two of the obstacles. And of course, the United States will try to coerce and use its power in order to sway the ICC not to take the case any further.
Palestinians have no sovereignty over the occupied territories. That's below the belt, isn't it? Now, the ICC could soon issue arrest warrants against high-level Israeli officials. Potentially, the list suggests officials from both the right wing and the left wing. So, in that sense, can we say that all Israeli officials agree on one thing when it comes to Palestinian rights?
Though the ICC case is not guaranteed that it is going to proceed, Israel is wary of the consequences. We've seen in the past some Israeli officials, such as Livni and others, who were afraid of traveling to different countries because there was a possibility that they were placed under arrest. Right. So this causes a problem to Israel. Mainly the case itself poses some problems to the Israelis because for the first time it shows that in a way it questions the idea of or this picture of exceptionalism that Israel tries to portray on its army, that it has the most moral army in the world. Now it questions this clause and also shows to the international arena that Israel, in a way, is failing in its administration of the Palestinian people.
Okay, Khalid Hijazi, a Palestinian activist, thank you very much indeed for your contribution, your insight and analysis to Palestine Files. Dear viewers, we're going to take a short break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the rest of the show.
According to the United Nations in 2014, Israel killed more Palestinian civilians than in any other year since the occupation of Palestine. Many of the fatalities came in July and August, when Tel Aviv waged war on the Gaza Strip. For weeks, the regime rained down bombs on the besieged enclave. During the war, the majority of the fatalities were civilians. On the other hand, almost all of the Israeli fatalities were regime soldiers. During the war, Israel even targeted UN-run schools where hundreds of Palestinian families had been seeking shelter. According to the UN, at least 6 of their schools had been struck.
الشعب كل يوم منه ناس بتتقتل أطفال وشباب وشيوخ وعجايز وكلنا وبضحكوا علينا بيجيبوا لنا نتفة الأكل بالهونة فيها يعني إحنا بموتونا وبدفنونا في نفس الوقت.
In this airstrike, 17 Palestinians, all relatives, were killed in an Israeli strike on southern city of Khan Yunis. Residents rushed to the scene of the house where the bodies of several people were pulled out of the rubble, among them children. Families burying their loved ones found little space to lay them to rest and little time. Israeli warplanes even flew above cemeteries, which meant burials had to be conducted quickly.
Absolutely tragic and heartbreaking scenes we saw there from the Israeli war on Gaza in 2014. Now, we have another tragic story. Zakaria Siam saw the brutal impact of the Israeli war on Gaza in 2014 firsthand. His case is one of many that the ICC will potentially investigate. Our team sat down with him to hear what he went through and the scars he carries till this day.
فقدت 3 أشخاص بعزوا علي، أمي ومرتي وأختي الله يرحمهم، أولاد أختي وأولادي صابوا في حرب 2014. في هي ابني لؤي لحتى الآن نعاني فيه، نجري فيه شظايا في بطنه وفي جريه وفي جسمه، بنعمل له عمليات. وفيش أي مؤسسة ولا أي جهة مطلعة لهم. يعني بروح بطلب العلاجات من جمعية السلامة ولا من أي جمعية، بيقولوا لي مش متوفر. أنا هنا بقيت مكان ما احنا قاعدين، بقيت بدي حرب وبدي أبيت هنا أنام. فاتح جوال على الراديو، سمعت الخبر والله بشرطة وشباح، نزلت بسيارة زي المجنون، طلعت على دار أختي الله يرحمها مكان الحدث. لقيت أكبر قطعة الشهداء الله يرحمهم 10 سنتي، أكبر قطعة من الشهداء 10 سنتي. صرت ألوم، لميت شوي وبعدين طلعت على مستشفى الشفاء. بدي أودع في الشهداء، لقيت أمي الله يرحمها. حارس الثلاجات بقول لي مفقودة ممنوعة وعيب. قلت له كيف عيب؟ أمي هذه. قلبي قال لي إنه كشفت وودعتها بستجريها الله يرحمها. بفتح الدرج، عاد أختي الله يرحمها معبأ في أكياس هي وأولادها. ما بعد هيك جايبين مرة الله يرحمها وما جايين فيها، بقولوا هذه شهيدة مفقودة. أنا انجنيت، يعني واحد بوعيه لما أنت بلا مؤاخذة تلم شقف من أهلك ولا من المقربين إلك أكبر قطعة 10 سنتي، إيش بده يتم عنده؟ دنيا رمضان وخلص رمضان سعيدها.
Tragic indeed. Let's bring in Mohammed Khatib, the European coordinator for the Samidun, the Palestinian Prisoner Solidarity Movement. Mr. Khatib, welcome. Now, Tel Aviv is obviously not happy. It's accused the ICC of anti-Semitism, as it does with anyone who denounces Israel. Is this essentially going to work?
Of course, this would not work. Israel is using and accusing every single person around the world who sympathize with the Palestinian people as anti-Semitic.
Okay.
We, the Arabs, are accused as anti-Semitic. We, the Palestinians, even are accused of this, even though we are the part of the Semite people. So this is even incorrect historically. It's making the things focused more on in Israel as a fake argument that everyone who start to open the discussion about the Criminals Act of the State of Israel, or about even just showing us and sympathizing with the Palestinian people as an anti-Semite, this became a disgusting, and especially in the West. Because in the West you have an anti-Semite movement. In the West you have anti-Semitic and homophobic and Islamophobic movement. So this rhetoric cannot work anymore.
Okay. Now, why did it take so long for the ICC to open an investigation into Israeli war crimes?
Look, because the ICC is not a neutral institution. The ICC is very similar to the United Nations. In my opinion, those institutions are whitewashing for the imperialists and the Western power. I don't believe personally in the ICC as an institution really fighting crimes around the world. And the best, like the most example for this, because these crimes have been done since 71 years. Why didn't open investigation on the ethnic cleansing happened to the Palestinian people in 1948? Even though you have Israeli historians like Iran Pepe who wrote books about this history and about how practically the Zionist movement ethnically cleansed the Palestinian people from their land.
Okay, Mr. Khatib, thank you. Mohammed Khatib there, the Europe coordinator for the Samidun movement. Let's now see how the international online community has reacted to the ICC probe. You heard there from social media users. So let's now cross our attention to international media and check out what the headlines reported on this. So, what have we learned? In a nutshell, the Israeli regime said the ICC had no jurisdiction to investigate the occupied Palestinian territories. Now, the Israeli regime might be under some illusion, some kind of illusion, that it also occupies the ICC as well as Palestine. Nevertheless, the issue is indeed highly sensitive. Not so long ago, former White House National Security Advisor John Bolton threatened to arrest ICC judges if they moved against Israel. We all know what happened to John Bolton. Even Trump had enough of his warmongering. And, Mr. Bolton, just in case you're watching, never bring a moustache to a beard fight. There's only one winner. That's all the time we have left for the show. From me and the whole crew, thank you for watching, and make sure not to miss our next episode of Palestine Files.